A good portion of the teaching that we find in the Gospels arises out of Jesus' dialogue with the religious leaders of his day. Now, one such instance is found in Matthew 22. There, we're told one of them, an expert in the law, tested him with this question, "Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law?" And the question itself reflects a popular rabbinic debate of their day. It's an attempt to locate Jesus on the theological spectrum of beliefs. In other words, he's asking, how do you read God's word? What is your hermeneutic? To which Jesus replied with a quotation of Deuteronomy 6, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind." Now, on the one hand, we could summarize his answer saying, love God with all that you are. And that's no doubt true. Now, at the same time, minds and hearts are distinct, are they not? That is, they refer to different things. So to love God with all of your mind is different than loving him with your heart, although both are required along with soul and even strength. Now, in Acts 17, we gain a perspective of what it looks like to love God with our minds. Now, first, in Paul's visit to Thessalonica, Luke tells the story using the words reasoned, explained, proved, proclaimed, persuaded, to describe Paul's methodology, to describe what Paul did. Now, these are words of the mind, are they not? Upon leaving Thessalonica, Luke continues, that very night, the believers sent Paul and Silas off to Berea, and when they had arrived, they went to the Jewish synagogue. These Jews were more receptive than those in Thessalonica, for they welcomed the message very eagerly and examined the scriptures every day to see whether these things were so. And notice the process. They heard Paul speak his message in the synagogue. And then they continued to meet with him daily to discuss what this message meant, but also to see whether it lined up with the scriptures. Now, in a sense, it's the flip side of what we see on the road to Emmaus. In Luke 24, we're told of Jesus appearing to two disciples on the road. And beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he explained to them what was said in all the scriptures concerning himself. Now here, the Bereans were beginning with scriptures to see if the gospel Paul proclaimed was really contained within. And it was. And despite many corners of Christianity lionizing the habits of these Bereans, it's hard to say that we've followed suit. In the mid-90s, the Christian historian Mark Knoll wrote the book titled The Scandal of the Evangelical Mind, in which he critiqued the anti-intellectualism inherent and pervasive in contemporary evangelicalism. The scandal of the evangelical mind, according to Knoll, was that there is no evangelical mind. Now, whereas throughout past ages, God has raised up the likes of Paul, St. Augustine, Pascal Aquinas, Luther, or Lewis, our evangelical tradition has seemed to turn against such pursuits in the modern age. Now, granted, we're called to have faith like a child. And as we've seen earlier in Acts, the first disciples were unschooled and ordinary men. Yet we cannot leave Jesus' words behind. We cannot love God fully without engaging our minds. Our failure to love God in this way, to study, think, and reflect on his word, has left us easy prey to the heresies of our day. And we'll claim God says it, I believe it, that settles it. But all too often we are putting our words in God's mouth, or badly misinterpreting the word with which we claim to believe. Over the last several years, the heresies of our day, whether it's the syncretistic nationalism on the right, the Marxist antis or the left, or even the health and wealth gospel, they arise out of a failure to love God sufficiently with our mind. We are subject to the heresies because we're not doing what we're called to do. Rather than following the habits of the Bereans to start with study and search the scriptures, at best, We begin with our preconceived conclusions and then search out biblical proof texts to support our position. Rather, allowing God's word to inform and transform us, all too often we're shaped by the winds of our day and look to the Bible for our justification. My encouragement to you this week is to make it a habit, to examine the scriptures daily, and to let those same scriptures examine you daily. And when you are challenged to make a change, as you will be, may you love God with heart, soul, and strength enough to do as he commands. Have a blessed week.